What is up, everybody? What is going on? I believe that we are live. I'm going to have to go do the classic thing where I check and make sure that I'm actually not just talking to myself. So let me check my screen over here. Hope that all of you are having a nice Saturday wherever you are. For me, it's 1:15 p.m. in the afternoon. My daughter is watching a movie and my son is sleeping. And that means I actually have some free time, which basically amounts to working out and taking the opportunity to look at charts. So I was thinking I was going to just go check out what was happening on the charts. I might as well live stream it. So basically, it's just a look at what I would have been doing by myself if I wasn't on camera. As always, these live streams are sponsored by Femex with a PH, PHEMEX. The link right down below in the bio. That is where I trade Bitcoin with leverage, where I trade a number of altcoins with leverage. And it's the only place that I currently trade with leverage. And I've been through basically every single exchange over the years. They're just really amazing. What you can see on my screen is where you can join the Wolfden newsletter. I'm actually, as I mentioned recently, I'm going to daily on weekdays because I hate myself and my free time. So it's been on Tuesdays, Thursdays, sometime Friday. Now it's going to be a more palatable, slightly shorter, but still completely comprehensive version. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Basically on Mondays, it'll be charts, weekend recap, news. Tuesday, charts, news about the podcast, more general news. There'll be news every day. Wednesday is going to be Into the Block, who I work with. They do a custom analysis every week on something for me. So I'm basically giving them a platform to do Wednesdays in addition to news and charts. Thursday will be chart requests, same thing. And then Friday is going to be more focused on education. But this will give me a better opportunity, I think, to share charts daily as opposed to leaving them on Thursday and then people don't get an update until next Tuesday, and basically just a more regular cadence so that people could see what I'm looking at and what I'm thinking and sort of where the trades are going. So the link for this is in the bio as well. I should mention, as you're not a YouTuber unless you ask people to hit the thumbs up, and I want to be a real YouTuber, not a fake YouTuber. So please hit that thumbs up button. And as we get some people coming in, just making sure this is working. Everything seems to be good to go. So let's look at some charts. So like I said, I just pulled up a couple charts that I thought I would want to look at. I have no idea what they look like. I keep all my old lines on my charts, you guys might notice, which means for me, I can see all the times that I was wrong because nobody can predict the future, as you know, when you're charting. But I think it's a really good exercise to not erase things so that everybody can see your shitty ideas come to fruition. So there might be some ugly trades on these, some ugly lines, some bad lines, and there might be some miracles as well. So 1 second, I'm going to just send out this tweet right now, which I forgot to do. And we're going to go. So let's see. I'm assuming I have Bitcoin here pulled up first, and this will most likely be the monthly chart. You'll see me looking to the left because I have another screen over here, which has all your comments running through it. All right. So Bitcoin, monthly chart, bullish as fuck, right? Once we cleared the 13,863 level, there's nothing but thin air here up until the previous all-time high. So literally that's the last resistance, I would say, on the monthly chart, which is pretty mega, massive, bigly, hugely, whatever words you want to use. So more importantly, though, we have 16 days left. So you can't get too excited about this yet. What is nice is that obviously people thought that this October candle was a rejection with a slight bearish SFP, this little wick right here. And then we saw a price drop and everyone was screaming resistance, death, going down. And then we had some bullish movement above. We would hate to see this end up closing below there because then we'd have this massive wick, a shooting star candle, and it would be hideous. But I'm not looking for that or worrying about it for now. Let's jump over to the weekly. Yet again, I haven't even looked at these in a while. So yeah, 16,174 is kind of the last weekly level worth looking at. And for now, you know, we've been sort of rejected there and are struggling at that level. So I'll be keeping a watch on that. What's notable here, obviously, is the pattern of low, high, higher low in March. And then once we broke that 13,868 and confirmed this weekly candle right here, that was a higher high. So ignore all these for now. This is like one cadence is here, right? So this higher low from March 2020, the day that crypto died, you know, everyone will remember March 12th forever. That was not a confirmed higher low until this last week. That was the first time that we made another higher high to confirm that low. So technically, I know nobody wants to hear this, but any move above 13,860 here, even if it came all the way down here, would still be bullish market structure because it would be a higher low. I don't think that's happening, but keep that in mind when you think about market structure. On a macro level here on the weekly, anything now that we've made this high, we would confirm that high with any higher low from here. Now, if you don't use wicks, you could consider this to be a 5,003 something, 5,003, 23.91. So then you also like, this is the more local structure since that low, low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low. And then all of these are higher highs. So now with regard to that structure, you want to hold 9,764, these lows. You wouldn't want to drop and close below those lows. So that's what you'll be watching there on Bitcoin. But the weekly, I mean, it still looks insanely bullish. I have no idea what's going to be drawn here on the daily. This was our last long trade. You can see when we flip that level. What I will note on the daily again, okay, so I had posted this yesterday, apparently. Now, I always say chart where you trade. This is the Femex chart. This wick was not here on some other charts. It was like down here. So it didn't make this clear ascending triangle. But here we have the two touches up, down, right? So we have an ascending triangle here, breakout, retest, but that actually has failed now. So that would theoretically be a failed trade if you had your stops under here, but this would be the target of that ascending triangle based on the depth. But what I want to look at, I know it's here somewhere. Sorry, guys, don't want to show you this, but we have a very, 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 very clear potential bearish divergence on the daily, right? Something like that. And it's overbought. So that usually leads to a retrace. It could take a bit of time on a higher time frame like that. But usually when I see something like this, not necessarily mean I'm going to short it, but there's a time when I'd be like, I'm closing my longs for sure. But that said, it's important to also notice is that depending on where it drops, you know, we get this end up getting a hidden bullish divergence where so much cancels the bear div and it can continue up. But all that said, you know, if we go back to which one? If we go back to the monthly chart here, maybe the weekly would be a better look at it. I have to see. You can see that we blasted off through all these levels and they've never gone retested. So if you follow me on like in the newsletter or on Twitter, you keep seeing me say, I would love to buy at 12,500. And people, the funny thing is people keep responding, oh, you want, you know, FOMO's a bitch. You should have bought it when it was there. I did buy it when it was there, right? Of course, I buy Bitcoin all the time. I've been trading this. Anyone who knows that, who follows me knows that. What I'm saying is that now that you have this huge movement up, you know, into the 16,000s, we expect 30% retraces in a Bitcoin bull move. So at this point, with the new information that we have, that Bitcoin has already eclipsed 16,200. Now, if there's going to be a dip and I want a chance to buy, and I believe this is going to remain bullish, now I want the dip to those levels. But like 13.8, never retested, right? Blasted through. This was never retested. You can see how all these other levels were retested. You want levels to be retested. That's healthy. So let's do an exercise yet again, something I haven't done. But let's pull fibs from here to here, right? Let's say that's the top, but we don't know that that's the top, by the way. This weekly candle is still open, so that doesn't matter. But, you know, the 30% retrace is going to be right in here. Right here's the 23.6 is at 13,510. The 38.2 is at 11,665. Anywhere in there would be a very, 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 very normal and healthy retrace for Bitcoin in a bull move. Yeah, this could go straight to 20,000. Nothing would surprise me. Then 30% with air would take us back to 14K, right? But I can't say I'm expecting or whatever, but I would think that it would not be surprising at all to see price pull a retrace and come back to test these levels. Yet again, not shorting it. I have no interest in shorting Bitcoin on a bull run. I'm just saying that I have orders all through here looking to buy dips because that's what we do. All right, I'm going to keep moving because my kids will eventually wake up and be done in about 30 minutes. So I want to get going. Okay, so Bitcoin dominance. I pulled this up. I haven't looked at it. If you've been following my Twitter threads, you know that I had dominance sort of nailed. And so we were trading alts every time dominance dropped. And then I would say, oh, alts are going to kind of get smoked here and they drop and whatever. And now we're seeing it climb the stairs back up, right? When we broke here, I said, alt season's done. We might get some select alt trades, but it's likely ugly. And we've seen it now flip. I mean, you could call that, there's no retest, but you could call it breaking, flipping. So now I think that as far as alts, it's extreme caution because we're between two levels, right? Literally right below. So like if you really want to trade alts, you want to see this, right? And then going away, and you definitely want it to squiggle exactly like that. If it doesn't squiggle like that, you can't trade alts. Everybody knows that. And it's going to be really, you know, we're kind of in a neutral alt here where some might pop. It's going to be really ugly if we see that kind of thing. So if you're an alt trader, what we want to see is a breakdown, I think personally, of this kind of area and then movement down to like 61.71. But here's the few charts that I was kind of looking at. I did just see somebody, I happened to glance over the chat. Do you ever check RSA on the monthly from Tim? I do check it on the monthly, but here's what I'll show you. And I've explained this a lot of times. We had a quote unquote bear div on the monthly. Crap, close RSI. And there's also now, of course, I've got all these ugly arrows on here. Let me erase these. Right. First of all, we had this bear div, and I said I wasn't worried about it at all, and people were freaking out. And I said, A, they take freaking forever to play out if they're on the monthly. If you look at a SPY chart, we had monthly bear divs for like years before it quote unquote plays out. So you're going to get wrecked trying to play it. It's literally impossible. But they just don't generally work on timeframes that high, and if they do, they're generally not usable. And you can see this was the bear div. I said I don't care, and we've moved on. All right, I'm going to take a look at ALGO, because these are the coins I've just kind of been watching, right? Well, this is interesting. We've had this descending line that I viewed as a major resistance, and I got kind of excited here. It was breaking 1794, and it dropped back below. But we're back here again and currently retesting it. So I will say this, if alts are going to do well, this is a great entry. And I also think it's a pretty good entry because we're at 168. You don't want to be messing with this if it drops below the all-time low here, right? That is an all-time low, I think. Yeah. So any candle close below 1564, I would say is a clear entry. It's a lower low. You're in price discovery. So actually, and I try to explain this all the time. Even if you think it's going to go down here, you have pretty good risk reward on any entry around here because it's a tight invalidation. And if this goes up, we're talking about theoretically, your target of this breakout should be up here. Right. Sorry about doing like 5X or 4 or 5X, whatever. So it's worth it. You know, it's up to you whether you can take that loss, whether you're accepting, hey, I'm going to take this position knowing I'm probably going to lose money, but the upside is tremendous. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. Same as pot odds in poker, right? You might push in all your chips. If you have $100, but there's, 10,000, there's 1,000 in the pot, win 10 times. And if your odds are 30, you have a 1 in 3 chance of winning 10 times your money. You take that bet every single time, knowing there's a 2 in 3 chance that you're going to lose. Seems counterintuitive because you only want to take quote unquote good trades that are going to go up. But a good trade is one that has a good plan and good risk reward, not one that pays you, right? It's important to remember that. So I would say ALGO here on the retest, even though this line is kind of janky now, I still think it's valid. And I still think it's relevant. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit because you could probably now this did make a slightly higher high actually. So this could be a higher low, but we can do one of these and say, hey, if it's below that, I'm going to exit because, it's broken this new fresh support. And that's probably like almost a channel. It won't be exactly, but we know that price likes to move in channels. So let's, something like this. Right. So yeah, and everyone's going to scream bear flag, but not really. It's not retracing all the way back up here. So I don't think so. And there's no clear flagpole. So I think ALGO looks pretty decent here, but I'm personally just not like jumping into alts at this exact moment, but that's how I would look at it. A lot of people wanted to see easy ETH. Well, there was the previous setup and we never got the clean breakout, but I'll tell you right now, I can see that this is going to happen. Right. Don't know why this won't lock, but that's what I would be looking at on easy ETH. Keep that line for sure. And we probably have right now this level, you know, that we're bouncing off of. So the trade here is a clear break above this, maybe even above that 50 MA if that's your thing, and even safer above this 127 and then continuing up. So you can still extrapolate sort of this target, although it's kind of a meme to call it a bull flag at this point because it's so long, right? You don't want the bull flag to be continuing out this long. And generally, you don't want it to retrace more than 50%. So I would call it a descending channel and not a bull flag personally. Also, there's some really big volume spikes within that. And usually in a bull flag, you see decreasing volume and consolidation. But let's like, if we pull these fibs, well, that's actually very bullish. That's a 80% retrace of this parabolic move, right? 78.6. This wick goes below probably just 81, 82%, something like that. Just like Bitcoin, when it hit the all-time highs, went parabolic and broke down, and we saw that massive drop. You expect around an 80% retracement of a parabolic move. And the 78.6 is generally considered a very, very, very solid entry. So I could definitely see taking an easy position here as well. But again, the problem is there's no really, really clear invalidation here. I mean, if you're like scalping, maybe you don't want to like make much lower than this low because listen, there's no support. Like the next, if we were doing supply and demand on this, your next zone would be here. Like there's not even a single red, or in this case, blue candle this entire time. So you could get that, and that's almost 100% retrace, right? So that's aggressive. So maybe you don't want to make another low, or you don't want to break below here. I'm not trading this again. Like the only place I would trade this is like really like nice candle with volume breaking this channel, and then ideally even a retest or above this pink line, which is not as important a line as it was. But if I was drawing back, I would put it there, and it's basically the same because you start on the right when you're drawing a line. Really, Chris, I'm going to try to look at the comments for a second in the middle of this, but really hard to keep up. Yeah, I can't keep up with this. Sorry. Let's move on to Ethereum. Nothing's really changed for me on this. Right. I mean, this is the Ethereum weekly. We have a clear double bottom, break of the neckline. A double bottom is only a double bottom once it breaks the swing high in between. So calling it a double bottom when it does this, wrong. Double bottom, wrong. It was only a double bottom right here. So that target, because it's a log chart, is right here, right? You would expect you're not going to see the same, like that would be all the way up here if it looked exactly the same. Because it's based on percentages, it looks smaller. But the log target of that is about 650, you know, and that's confirmed. And we're still trading above the top half of this range. So like if we got a test of that range, I would go heavily back into Ethereum at like 389 here for sure. And we have the macro breakout of this descending line. So there's nothing really bearish here at all. Go into the daily, you can see we had the similar sort of higher lows, higher high within this blue trading range. So got some leftover lines from other charts, but whatever. And we had this pennant. So yeah, we're seeing this dip here. Anything above these kind of lows here. I mean, now we can move this here. Maybe we even just get rid of this one. So even down to like anything above this low is retains bullish market structure. So yeah, like if we can get a drop down to like 390, we'd make that higher low, hit the EQ of this channel and absolutely blast off. I'd be buying very, very heavily here. Otherwise, I'm not really interested at this point until it's above the entire channel. So like 490 retest and away. That's on the USD pair, which I trade on Fenex as well. So I don't know what this is. Another, looks like the same chart. Maybe I should pull up the ETH Bitcoin chart. I haven't even looked at it. Slow load, sorry. I'm gonna look at YouTube really quick and make sure that I still exist on here. So yeah, we have this sort of, I mean, it's still kind of in play. That's ugly. It'll look a lot clearer on a 4-hour. And like I said, it's not a head and shoulders yet because it hadn't broken out, but we have this potential sort of head and shoulders structure. This could be 2 shoulders, but at this point with this ascending line, you'd have to get above that for this to officially be a head and shoulders. I think this was a fake out, really kind of a confusing chart, to be honest with you. But I still think it looks kind of like it's starting to bottom. I mean, this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, tests, and that's a fake out wick through. So I think that now at this point, again, you want to wait until a clear close above this descending line and then take it from there. I don't see a reason to be trading it really anywhere below that if you're trading against the Bitcoin pair, right? Okay. INJ objective. Oh, this went well. Problem is that the original setup broke down here. So you might have exited, and you might have exited on this breakdown of support here. But I shared this in the newsletter. I said there were a lot of ways to play it, and the safest one was to take an entry once this confirmed a higher low, which was anything above here, which we have here. So even though it broke support, the bullish structure was not violated, right? Higher low, higher high. So I wasn't trading this, to be honest. And then the next clear entry was right here. Break above, on. So this should theoretically be targeting 94.47, but it's just really, really hard to buy at this exact spot, especially because you could definitely arguably draw a line somewhere through here, right? Because that's support, resistance, support, resistance, fail, touch. So it's definitely at a strong resistance here at 83.66. What you do like is that there's really nice defined increasing volume here on the 4-hour. So like if this breaks above, maybe you take it as a retest here instead of trying to buy it on the way up. But it'll be really sweet to catch this. Like maybe we could draw a line here too. Maybe get a retrace to 75.70, something like that. I do have a bag of this, but I haven't been trading it. I was on the pre-sale small allocation, but it's just it's when you generally buy it at a pre-sale or something, your coins are locked. So I watch it, but there's nothing I can do about it anyways, except for hope that it continues to go up and you don't lose money. So I think that actually looks pretty good. I mean, keep going because running on somewhat limited time. The moment you've all been waiting for. Dun, 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 dun. Like, all right. So in general, the line that I keep saying that I'm super, super, super interested in is the black line. Right. Support, and missed, but support. Bounce off this is like, to me, is such a strong support. People always talk about like a support becomes weaker the more times it's touched. That's true of horizontal support because the theory there is that orders are being cleared each time it's touched. It's not really true of ascending support, which is not based on your theoretical thoughts on the order book. Ascending support, really strong. Descending support, really strong. So I would be looking for a bounce off that for sure. Otherwise, it's so clearly just like waiting for a break of this blue line. If you want to like zoom in, there's other lines you could draw. Obviously there's this high, do something like that, break of that line, but understand that there's this other resistance right above it. So yeah, for me, like I definitely want to see it above this blue line or down on here. So, this will change, but kind of that's not working. Something like this, So I'm not interested yet, but I want to get back in for sure. I think this is the USD pair. More interesting because that's probably drawn on the daily. We had the clear macro breakout. And yet again, same structure, right? Higher low, higher low, higher low, higher highs. So probably draw a channel on it. Something like that. Maybe, the channel might actually look better like this or something. But you know, or draw it off these highs or off here or something. You can see the general idea that it's traveling, sort of channeling. It might be a slight ascending wedge, but channeling. Too big to be a bear flag already again from that. Interesting to pull some Fibonacci levels on this maybe. So still hasn't even gotten back to 50%, and it's sitting on the 38.2. So, you know, if Bitcoin goes up, this is obviously going to go up. It's a USD pair. But, you know, I think it looks pretty good because it's making those higher lows and higher highs. It's broken this, broke that, retested that. So you got another one here. But, you know, in general, these could also look at this whole thing as sort of a bull pennant right here on this move. But if you want to be really safe, wait until it's above like 13.2, 13.5, this area, until it flips this and catch it like this. Boom, off. But yeah, I think Link's going to return to its highs for sure. So I would say be interested in getting into Link at some point. Now waves, I'm sharing this one just on Twitter and made me look good. So I'm going to share this. I hate this. I hate these candles like that because it's such a violation of this, but I kept the line because I basically consider that a bull trap. So we had this breakout here, retest, big move, clear flagpole, and then I drew it here and said enter on the break. And so we've obviously had that move, and then now this massive move above. So just huge, huge movement. At this point, oh, that's not even locked in. I would say that that's your, my mouse is dirty. Can't have a dirty mouse. Feels crusty when you move it around. So yeah, I would say above this line now is where you consider, but I would expect a retrace to be coming soon. Let's check RSI. Wow, it's definitely overbought, but it did not form any bear divs there on the 4 hour certainly, and the daily still has some room to go and no bear div there as well. Oh wow, I don't even know what I drew here. There's an old channel of some sort. That was a fail. See, fun to draw and look at your old charts and see messed up patterns. So waves, I would say I would love to catch it back at 259, right, on a retrace, and then more steam to here. But I would personally, I'd be watching for it now to, you know, consolidate here, do one of these. And that's why, like, if it forms a bear flag, bull flag here and pops off here, I would look for an entry there or an entry above. Otherwise, at this point, so these are the, let me just draw it. You're either buying here on a retest as support, so a break above, retest as support, or you're buying like, you know, here-ish. This has already been retested, so I wouldn't look at it there. And then you also have these sort of local like demand areas off this candle and off this candle, so maybe here. But these are the two entries I would be potentially watching for. But you can see that's broken already. Those are two potential bearish SFPs. So you can see a close above before you'd enter here. It's got to be a retest from the top, not entering it from the bottom, because you would have already triggered twice. Right? So that's that. YFI. The head and shoulders of all head and shoulders. Although the volume pattern's not really there on the break or the head, but still fun to look at the pattern because it broke, retested. It's been nothing but down since. But let's zoom in here. So it had this bullish move, right? It also had a really clear bear div here, which is led to this retrace. And let me see. You know, we have some sort of like kind of hidden bull div, but I don't know. This also looks like it could be forming a head and shoulders. So I'm not in love with this, even though it does not look bad, to be honest with you. I'm not saying like you'd exit or anything. I just don't see an entry. Maybe now we have this line. So you could play it off that and be interested, but like it's pretty clear that there's this vibe is happening, whether you choose to play it or not. Can't play it until it breaks, right? So it would have to be like, if we called that the head, maybe that's the, so like it would have to be a clear breakdown of this level. That's your support. Also, we probably have some sort of ascending channel between those, ascending, broadening wedge typically, which is a technically crappy pattern. I hate them, useless. but that's what it is. So maybe a break above that would be interesting from a horizontal perspective. Go to the daily. I don't know. There's not really many clear levels that I'm seeing. Something like that, maybe. I mean, this is like right where price is. Actually, that's crystal clear. Look at that. Resistance, support, 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 right? And it's bounced around that area and is sitting on it right now. So I would say that's a really key level to watch, is where price currently is. If you're zoomed out on the daily, that's really interesting, actually. Because look how many times that was tested. That's the only reason it's interesting to me, because yeah, it's kind of violated here and here. It's a little weird, but like each of these candles also meaningfully interacted, right? Barely broke, and now we're sitting on it. So if it can hold above 1.06, that would be pretty bullish. And when you zoom out like this, actually to the daily, this does look like it's forming like some sort of like little kind of bull flag or something, you know, that being the pole. So not mad at that. Somebody asked earlier for YFL, which I'm always trading. So I think YFL generally looks good since it broke out of this descending channel. And now maybe this level is not as meaningful anymore with the break below, but like I like it anywhere kind of above 490 here. At this point, if you get above 623 and get another clear break, heading up. But I love this project. And we still have that like bullish market structure of higher lows and higher highs. Let me see something, see if there's some sort of channel here. Usually is. I mean, that's kind of what I would be looking for. Obviously, we don't have the touches on the top, but we have this clear interaction with the midline, right? The EQ, which makes it a good channel. So, and also, so if it ends up staying up here and holding above this, I would expect it to reach the top. I'm very bullish on this asset in general. So I think it's going to go up personally. But that doesn't mean there's an entry right now. But anywhere above, you know, this EQ, you could have a justifiable trade, or above the midline here. Right, that was all the charts that I had generally pulled up. So I'm going back to the comments really quick. We got, hey, Tybalt, what's up, man? Always here, representing Shakespeare. A lot of people saying hi. Wiz Khalifa's here. No, it's with the Khalifa. Oh, BQX he wants to see. That's cool. I love Voyager. So it's, but I find it so annoying that this is still called BQX on Binance, because it's only VYG. That's the only coin there is, Voyager. But I had actually Steve Ehrlich, the CEO of Voyager. I did an AMA with him on Monday. You should watch that. But and we were talking about it. But yeah, just Binance refuses to change the name, so there actually is no BQX coin. There's no coin by that name. It's kind of crazy. This is the chart I had. Still think that looks good. Broke out of that descending wedge. I guess the question is like, what's happening here around this line? I don't know. This line is kind of, I mean, it matters, but I would almost like redraw this entire chart, to be quite honest with you. Let's have some fun. Yeah, I know there's an alert on that. Thank you. So let's pretend that we had this chart naked, right? Because I want to look at how I would look at it. And I would say that this is where I would draw this. So I want to be back above 929, right? Because support, a little support there, although a breakthrough, support, and up. You know, I think we have some clear levels. Something through here, right? Like it's so important that lines are just areas. It's not like price has to do exactly something at exactly a line, you know. Let's say something like this. There, and whatever. So I would still personally, like if I was looking at this fresh, I would have first drawn a line there, but I think that's bad. So I would still draw that. So I would still say that this is broken out. I would just say that now we have like new local sort of resistance that's this. Or like, you know, this. I like to start at the top. So I wouldn't draw that personally. But so, you know, you could draw a line here. So many ways to look at these guys, you know. I would say like now at this point, you don't want to be trading below this, right? If you get an 826, anything slightly below, you enter and look for movement up. And that sort of, if you're looking from a supply and demand perspective, I would draw a zone that there's probably some orders left over right here. Down, break, 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 up. Right, let me continue going through the comments. Everyone's asking about RSR. I've never really looked at it, but I can try to take a very quick look. But yeah, I'm not really going to be able to just check every chart you guys have. I have to go in a few minutes. So let me see. RSR. Since like 97 of you asked for it, there's probably not even 97 people here. That's a blatant exaggeration. I'm prone to hyperbole, though. If you grew up with me, you know that everything is the greatest thing that ever happened in the world, or nothing bigger has ever existed. That's kind of how I've always rolled. We have just way too many lines here. I want to delete this entire chart. Don't care. Stupid. I don't know where I got all those lines, but it's hideous. Okay, let's zoom out. I mean, that doesn't look great. So, I mean, you can't even draw a target if this was a head and shoulders. So that's why I'm kind of laughing, but like, that's about as clear as it gets. It hasn't broken down yet though. Maybe like, you know, you could have drawn some sort of line like this, which makes it look bullish, and maybe it's going to break up. And by the way, head and shoulders is not a head and shoulders until it breaks the neckline. So you don't even have to worry about this. But if you see price below like 68.84, run for the hills, I would say. This red is so aggressive. We don't need that. Let's make it blue. Yeah, I think that actually, when you kind of look at it from that perspective, not so bad, right? It's also not accurate. I'm gonna make it touch really closer there. 1, 2, 3, breakthrough on volume. Well, the volume actually came after the break, it would appear, and then consolidation. If you get like a retest of this, you would expect some more movement up for sure. If we're just drawing lines off it. Listening to a lot of Mobb Deep today with my kids. Does that make me a bad parent? I don't know. I just, every time there's a bad word, I try to say something to my kids so that they don't hear it. My son's too young anyways, but yeah, I mean, when you have this kind of head and shoulders thing, it's really hard to draw horizontals because you're always cutting through price action, right? So, I mean, it goes without saying there's a important level here, but so like I would maybe use fibs if I was going to trade this, pull something from like up here to the low here, right? We can even just get rid of that. Even it's very close. So you can see it's struggling at the 23.6, but if this is reversed and this is the bottom, we should expect exactly what we're saying, maybe a little movement here, but then we should get to the 38.2 and easily to the 50. So, you know, that's a 67, 68% move from here. I don't like these wicks up in the immediate. So, you know, I just don't know where to enter this at this exact moment. The safest would be above 133, which is pretty far, or a test of this line down here. Or, you know, there's clearly another level of some sort in this area, but it's really kind of hard to draw. You'd have to draw a zone, something like that, or it's, you know, something in through here. I don't know. Could be here, kind of like that. Maybe a test down there and go up. That's what I'd be looking at. Shroom game swap decks. Yeah, I hold Shroom. I don't even look at the chart. It's like so funny. I mean, there's so many of these that I just don't like bother looking at the chart because my positions are so small on anything on Uniswap that I just look at it as stop loss is 0. Someone asked for, I'm just curious looking at comp because it just entered my mind because I know we had some action on it, but it's taking so long to load. Yeah, comp. It's right at resistance, I can tell you right now. Yeah, comp looks good, right? And so this is great. I'm so glad I just thought to pull this up. I don't know why I did, but I was talking about this, I think, on the live stream on Wednesday. And I said, must have been, you can draw patterns on RSI or other oscillators, right? We had this clear descending pattern and it broke. And I said, price usually follows. When you see it break on the oscillator, on the indicator, you usually see price follow, and we're seeing that. And comp is now breaking out. So I'm already in this from down here, but yeah, I would say that that has a lot of potential right there. And CRV, someone asked about, which I had also charted before, so that's worth taking a look at. I don't even know what Divi is, DIVI. I don't know. People have asked me about that before. I see that in the comments. So I'm just hoping that didn't. Yeah, comp looks good. That looks really good. I love that. Finally broke, retested perfectly, heading up. Doesn't mean it's going to go up, guys. But oh, CRV also about to kind of break out of this descending wedge vibe, although that would be more like that. So if that can break out of there and go above, although that's not the most meaningful pattern in the world, honestly, if you wanted to draw it more accurately, you'd probably do something like this. And you still have this as a fake out and the breakout, but that looks very promising on CRV. And also, like, it's funny, this has basically always been oversold. It's just coming out for the first time, and you can see that we had the bullish divergence right here, and that was the bottom. Greatest indicator of all time, period. I shared this with the newsletter at the time. So don't be thinking I just came up with something and heading up, right? So if you played that bullish divergence on the confirmation, you are up 100% on your position. Bang. All right, going back here, anybody, if you have any last second questions that are not charts, because that's it. And then I'm going to take a hike. XMR, Uni. I'll take a look at Uni just because, even though I just said no more charts, because I'm curious and I've got a bag. Sorry about these slow loads. By the way, somebody mentioned in my Twitter comments, they were like, it's fun to watch charts, but let's talk about fundamentals. So I think that, like, it's almost not even worth talking about fundamentals of the crypto market anymore, because it's so obviously, so clearly, insanely bullish, right? I mean, I'm sure I have these articles that I was reading before. There's a couple of them up here. Friday the 13th, how superstition could impact Bitcoin trend changes. Well, that one I pulled up because it's the dumbest headline I've ever read. And I don't want you to think that Friday the 13th has anything to do with Bitcoin. That's so stupid. I can't believe people write things like that. They should be fired and never allowed to write again. Bitcoin's market cap reaches 300 billion. That's extremely bullish. So we're at 300 billion, right? Almost to the top of where we were, but price is not even really that close to 20K yet. So we've got a much higher market cap at a relatively lower price, which means that there's different money and we haven't even started yet. Legendary investor Stan Druckenmiller turns Bitcoin bull. Billionaires, right? If you watch my Michael Saylor interview, he said, listen, I'm a billionaire. I have the balls to come out here and say that I've bought Bitcoin. Come try to hack me, whatever. But I believe in it enough to say that, I'm exposed to this and I think it's important. I just need a couple more billionaires to come out and say the same. Well, Druckenmiller, Bill Miller, Bitcoin bull, like Saylor, right? This is just this week. A couple more billionaires have come out. And then, of course, we have the PayPal news. So fundamentally, like, there's no reason to be bearish. We have all the macro situations we've always looked for: money printing, global pandemic, economic meltdown, global economic crisis. And then you have all this institutional money, access for retail. It's just, there's nothing bearish. Like, there's just no bearish case. I'm not saying price can't go down. I'm just saying a government could, pass some regulation and make it illegal to take money out, your dollars out of Bitcoin, whatever. But, like, there is just no reason to be generally bearish on the market right now. That was it. That was me doing a news segment. I think that actually is what makes you an official YouTuber, is if you talk about news, right? I'm now the MSM, mainstream media. And so I'm the enemy. Sorry about that. You guys can turn me off now. That line's kind of whatever. But clearly Uni had a macro break of the downtrend, right? And I had an alarm there, which went off. And we're seeing sort of locally that it's breaking key resistance and moving. So I would say as long as it stays above 2.2, it should be headed to 2.8. Pretty easy. Something like this. I don't know. There's a million. See, like I said, like, lines can be misleading. I draw them, but I view them as areas, and I usually put my orders lower. But you just like do like something like this, or like, where was it? I don't even remember. Up here, right? give you a much better indication of where you should be looking. So I think it's probably headed up there, to be honest. It's making higher lows. It's making higher highs. So now I would say that it remains bullish as long as it's above this line, because that's the higher low from this high, unless we count that. But something like this, I wouldn't want to be back down here. We'd kind of be dribbling down. But for now, I could see any entry above here targeting to this area and ultimately that area. So somebody asked if they will stay poor. I'm going to answer probably, because that's what happens to people. They stay poor because they trade too much. But you might not. You might be part of the 5%. Wolf, is it too late to invest in Bitcoin for long term? I can't give financial advice. I can't tell you what to do. I can just tell you that, like any market, generally the smartest thing to do is dollar cost average, because then you're excited when price goes down because you get to buy cheaper. I wouldn't plow all of my money into Bitcoin at the current price, personally. Just doesn't seem that the risk reward is there for that. But just like, set an automatic buy each week and check it in a year, and I bet you'll be really, really, really happy. Someone asked me why the slow loads. That sounds like a really weird sexual question. But I'm assuming it's because I'm live streaming and things load slowly. Will I stay poor is still my favorite question ever. How many positions have you open at any one time? It really depends on the market. I try for it not to be that many, but I've accumulated small positions in a ton of altcoins that I've already taken profit on over time. So I kind of just view them as investments. Like Uni, I made a bunch of money, I sold a bunch, and then I just kind of left a bag that I'm just going to let run basically indefinitely unless it goes to zero, because I've already made my money and I view it as I'm playing with the house's money. And so I have probably 20 or 30 altcoin positions that are like that I don't even check. And, if they super moon and an alarm goes off, I'll know about it. But I've already made my money and I keep 10, 15, 20% of the position just in case, right? Like I just don't close them all the way, because what if they do 100x? That 100x on that 10% is more than the entire trade that I would have made. So I do that all the time. So what position are you in now? Bitcoin and Ethereum? Yes, I'm in both, always. Oh, guys, 2:00 is my cutoff and it's 2:02. I really appreciate you all showing up. This is a lot of fun for me. Like I said, this is just like what's happening in my brain and you guys are watching it. These are the charts I would have looked at anyways. So I appreciate you sharing my brain with me. Once again, the Wolfden is going to be coming out every single weekday starting on Monday. And thank you once again to Femex for sponsoring. Hit the thumbs up, share it with your friends. And that is all. I will be doing this again, hopefully at the top of next week. So thank you once again. If I can even end the stream, I can't get it to open. Peace out.